That's right. You've pressed play on episode 3 of All the Right Moves, a Director's Chair limited series about the filmography of Edgar Wright. I'm your host, Trucker Andy, and with me, of course, I couldn't talk movies without my resident movie expert. It's the one and only Kaylee from Once Over Cayley. Welcome to the show, Kaylee.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so dang excited. All right, now do like a wipe with a little noise that's happening. Yeah.
The more that I get into this and the more I rewatch the movies, the more I appreciate Edgar Wright, and especially these older ones, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. And it reminds me of why I decided to do this, because it's all fantastic. What's your initial opinion, or how did you discover Edgar Wright? What are your first memories of, let's say, Shaun of the Dead or Spaced?
Yeah, my first introduction to Edgar Wright was actually through Spaced.
Okay.
I saw it and I loved like the goofy, weird sitcoms. That was always a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And it did the goofy, weird sitcom in such an intelligent way. It almost had like the Fawlty Towers sort of feel, where it's like nothing really is happening. This shouldn't be so great. And yet for some reason it is so great. And then Shaun of the Dead came out, and it didn't even occur to me that it could possibly be the same guy who had done Spaced. Like, I didn't have enough knowledge. Now, looking back at both of those things, I'm like, oh, this is obviously both Edgar Wright. Like, you can say his calling cards are all over both of these things.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have enough knowledge to be able to associate those two things with being one and the same.
Even though it was Simon Pegg in both things?
Even though it was Simon Pegg. I just assumed that was like Simon Pegg's style. Like, I was so naive that I didn't realize that it might have been a director's style, that I just thought it was an actor's style.
I do think, not until much later, though, but I think they were very much connected at the hip and working together and creating this content that has a specific voice, and credit to Simon Pegg as it is to Edgar Wright, even though, as you know, later on when we get into the movies that Simon Pegg is not in, then that will kind of set Edgar apart from Simon. But at this stage in the game, they're a duo, I would say.
Yeah, you can see that they are muses of each other. You can see that they feed off of each other. They figure out how to make one thing work. Like, they're working on a scene together, and you can tell, you can almost see how both of their brains are working on that scene. And the fact that it works so perfectly is, I agree with you, a credit to both of them.
And I know we talked at the top, like before we hit record, about talking about Space second, but I just feel like we need to talk about it first, because you brought up Fawlty Towers, and as I've done these other previous 2 episodes without you, so you're not aware, we have been talking about like Little Britain and Monty Python and all of these things that kind of inform the voice of Spaced. And when I watched episodes 5 and 6, as we're going through the series and we're going through the movie catalog in order, I brought up the inspiration that Edgar and Simon were finding in directors like Robert Rodriguez, who was creating movies in, independent filmmaking, as well as Kevin Smith. And episode 5 it goes to black and white. It's a VO. There's so much stuff that happens in episode 5 is directly just being Clerks. All the way down to the dialogue about Star Wars.
Brian, did you notice that everything that transpired in those 3 films, and I mean everything, can be attributed to the actions of one very minor character? Who? The gunner on the Star Destroyer at the beginning of the first film. How come? Well, because if the gunner had shot the pod that C-3PO and R2 were in, they wouldn't have got to Tatooine, they wouldn't have met Luke, Luke wouldn't have met Ben, they wouldn't have met Han and Chewie, they wouldn't have rescued Princess Leia. None of it would have happened. Chaos theory.
So it's you can really tell because we chronologically pointed out that Clerks and Mallrats came out in 95 and 96 respectively, I think, and then Spaced came out in 98, 99. So I am speculating, and I think that I'm right based on episode 5, that he was seeing what Kevin Smith was doing with independent filmmaking and writing and was inspired by that and almost paid homage to it with episode 5 here.
You know, something that I really love and respect about Edgar Wright is that you can tell how much he loves film. Yeah. He makes movie references to absolutely everything. He makes movie references to himself. Right. You know, this is something that this is clearly a passion project for him, and you can see that even in his early works with things like Spaced. You can see that he actually released, I can't think of the name of it right now, but what Hot Fuzz was based on was a movie that he had made when he was 18 or 19 years old. Oh. And you can see it even in that movie, which is available on one of like the special edition DVDs.
Oh, okay.
That's what he loved. He loved making reference to movies that he loved because he just loves film, and that's so exciting to me. And actually, one of my most exciting memories, I think I've told you this story before, but I'm 99% positive that I told you the wrong person in it, and I've been thinking more and more about it. I'm just a dummy. I went and saw the movie The Great Escape at the New Beverly in LA, which is the movie theater that's owned by Tarantino. And Edgar Wright was just there watching the movie. Wow. And to me, that is exactly what makes him such a good filmmaker. It's the same reason that people respect Tarantino's filmmaking. These are people who love movies so much, so deeply that they understand the tropes and they understand how to play with the tropes. And you can see that knowledge in Spaced. There's moments in Spaced, I was talking about like... the idea that everything is so well planned, especially between Wright and Pegg. But like, there's this moment in one of the episodes that we were watching where Simon Pegg like goes and like imitates the artwork that's on the wall, and it's like just this beautiful moment of like, what a goofy thing to do with your body. And yet I know you guys were just like, that's what we do. We imitate, we create in the same way that we are watching and enjoying, and we're being voyeurs, and now we're being creators. Yeah. And I love that.
Yes. And you're right about, it's something that came up in a previous episode about their love of video games, their love of movies, and just the fandom as a personality, and that's on display when they're at the comic book store in episode 5. It's why I insist that Edgar is a fan of Kevin Smith, even though the other thing I'm going to say is that while I bring up Robert Rodriguez and I bring up Kevin Smith, I feel like those guys have made giant turds of Spy Kids and Shark Boy and, all the garbage that Kevin Smith, Jersey Girl, and
all right, we can't be friends anymore if you're making fun of Spy Kids, because Spy Kids is actually really fucking good, Andy, and you're wrong about that. I'm fighting with you. We're fighting now.
Go, you rewatch it and tell me.
I will absolutely do. I have a signed Spy Kids poster on the other side of this wall. I love Spy Kids, dude. That movie rules.
There's things to like.
It's actually probably my favorite Robert Rodriguez movie. That might legitimately be my favorite Robert Rodriguez movie. You don't respect me at all anymore, and I hate you for that.
Hey, if we just agreed on everything, it would be a boring podcast. But I like. There's a lot of Robert Rodriguez content that I do like. I do like Planet Terror and that are Edgar Wright.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying it's a fun movie, but. Shark Boy and Lava Girl is trash, and
yeah, that's trash.
Sin City,
we can finally agree.
Sin City 1 is good. Sin City 2 sucks. It's like it's give or take, as opposed to Edgar, who has drawn all this
consistently good
inspiration from these two guys that we're talking about, and outdone them in a far better way, almost categorically across the board. Yes. So I just wanted to bring that up because it was something that was dawning on me while I was watching Spaced. It's just like, oh, this is Clerks, but he's way better than Kevin Smith. Oh, he's kind of like doing what Robert Rodriguez did, but way better. So
he clearly has a very deep understanding of not only filmmaking, but of the world. And That's what makes a good filmmaker.
Yeah. And just to kind of sum up as we move through the topic of space, this was the part 2 of Daisy getting the dog. It was I was shitting on Daisy's plot lines in general in the last episode, and this one was a little more fun. She was a little more, front and center in the episode, and all of the bits with her kind of really liking the dog, and the dog gets kidnapped, and it's a well done episode, as opposed to we're doing these episodes 2 at a time, and the next one I was very glad that you were here for these episodes, because just based on your opinion about everything we just talked about 5, but then we get into 6, and Mr. T comes up, and I know this is going to come out later, but A-Team is heavily referenced in this, and that came up on WATP recently, and also
I was crying.
Yeah, I know. But then you also get to see Brian paint with his cock, and I'm sure that was your favorite part of the episode.
It was my favorite
right?
part.
By not actually placing my brush on the canvas.
Right.
Using my penis.
Finally.
Do you want to see?
No, I'm just about to have a tea.
Yeah. But by and large, I felt like this episode 6 is more... I guess what I'm learning about Spaced is that I don't like Brian-centric episodes.
Really? Okay.
Episode 3 with the art installation and vulva, I didn't like that one. And this one was Brian forward, and I didn't like this one. So it's just my opinion about the series. So these are my
perfectly
takeaways.
Reasonable.
But it's still a pretty fun episode. There's a lot of things. The relationship between Tim and Daisy kind of is becoming more in the forefront of the series. Will they, won't they kind of thing.
What did you mean when you said Daisy's not like that?
I never said that.
No, you did. You did. He said you two, and you said no, Daisy's not like that. That's what you said. I just wondered what you meant.
Yeah, I just meant you're not like that. I don't see you in that way.
Whereas the first couple weren't, it was alluding to it, but it wasn't really a thing. And now it's kind of becoming more of a thing. I feel like the series is finding more of a voice with episode 5 and their relationship with episode 6.
You inspired me to rewatch a whole bunch of the series, so I am through season 1 now. Okay. And I will say that I do think that the episodes 5 and 6, I think that they what was really interesting was that is where I kind of started liking the character of Daisy, and you started alluding to that as well, where you're like, I didn't really get her maybe entirely. This is where I think that she comes into her own, and I think that she becomes a little bit goofier here, and I love that. I don't usually like a female lead, but she's so good, and she's so silly, and she knows when to like gut punch you, and I love it.
Yeah, I was giving her props to the tune of Caitlin Olsen and Always Sunny, and
yes.
Zooey Deschanel in New Girl. She's kind of this quirky, dorky personality that doesn't have to rely on her looks to be entertaining on a show, and that reminded me of those two examples. So, a little more endearing version of Daisy as we get into 5 and 6, but. I think, and I the only reason I wanted to talk about this also at the top in episode 5, we do get a cut and paste. There's a couple of cut and paste moments that Edgar likes to do with space. That he did it in Shaun of the Dead, and he's done it in Hot Fuzz too, as well with when they're at the police station, they do the raid, and then they're in the police station, and they're all laughing all together. And that comes up in a couple of times in Hot Fuzz. So I was like, oh, he's just, retreading. And what we were talking about in Shaun of the Dead is that Edgar loves a running gag. He loves to do like a spin, especially Shaun of the Dead. It's just like, we're going to show you something, and then we're going to show you the same thing, but with this twist. And even just from film to film, he has running gags. The fence bit. We'll get to the fence bit too.
I love the fence.
It's just like he loves running gags so much that he's doing it movie to movie, not just from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, totally from his television series to multiple different movies. It's
I mean,
brilliant.
his connection in a trilogy is basically the fence gag and the Cornetto ice cream. Like
right.
that's his running gag to make this a trilogy. I was surprised on this rewatch of Spaced. So watching Spaced simultaneously with rewatching Hot Fuzz, I remembered all the running gags. I remembered the Edgar Wright tropes, but I did not realize is how much he was still doing the same editing style when he was doing Spaced as he is in his movies, in his film career. And it's like that super quick wipe across the screen with like a little sound effect as it's happening. And I love that so much. He does it so successfully. Usually that's like a hack thing to do, but there's something about how Edgar Wright employs it that makes it hilarious every single time that it happens. And it happens probably 40 times during Hot Fuzz, if not more. And I had forgotten how much that happened in Spaced. Like I had entirely wiped that from my I had entirely wiped that from my memory. But that was such a pleasure to see that was always his style, you know?
And that's been really enjoyable to as we watch Spaced and rewatch the movies and realize the evolution and things that have evolved and become better, but also things that are evergreen and staples that if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of things. That another director that we've brought up is Sam Raimi, and that's the same kind of thing. You can see things that Raimi did in Evil Dead that he was still doing Doctor Strange 2. You know, it's like, oh, it's obviously a Raimi film because it's the first person shot, or just like a lot of the tropes. This isn't a podcast about Sam Raimi, but I probably could do a whole another series about him. But in Edgar's the same way. He references Evil Dead. He references these things that he loves, and you can see how they informed what he's doing to this day. So it's fun to go back to his earlier work. Oh, the other thing that you mentioned that I didn't want to forget to bring up, that he did a short film that was basically a new and improved Hot Fuzz, or the roots of Hot Fuzz. And when I did the first episode with Ryan about Fistful of Fingers, we said, why wouldn't he take this and give it the Evil Dead to Evil Dead 2 treatment and make basically, his Blazing Saddles, or we even brought up Hundreds of Beavers. It's like Fistful of Fingers wants to be Blazing Saddles, and I just think that he romanticizes making that movie and maybe would want to do it properly. So to hear that he had this short film, police-centric movie, or in whatever, a special feature, and then went on to make Hot Fuzz, that kind of confirms that he does think about his early work that way. Yeah.
It's beautiful. That's a very, again, it's very romantic. It's I love it. I think that's what makes him so great.
Yeah. But let's get into Hot Fuzz. And of course, it's Simon Pegg and Nick Frost teamed up again. And this is, everybody was anxiously awaiting this because Shaun of the Dead was such a smash hit. And you can see what an impact it had on pop culture by very early on in the movie. This cameos galore showing up to get on the Edgar Wright train because he's such a sensation based on the popularity of Shaun of the Dead, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'm gonna just shoot my load here. I think that this is a movie that is 50 times better than Shaun of the Dead. I think that this is him. This, I guess it is kind of the Evil Dead 2 situation here. This is, to me, him saying, let me do this, but do it better and slightly different. And I could not possibly create a better buddy action comedy horror. But what other genres? There's like 1,000 other genres that go into this thing. There's kaiju stuff happening at the end.
I knew that you were going to bring that up.
Every single thing about this movie is so perfect. I think this is a near perfect movie. And again, I know that I am saying that right out the gate here. That does not mean that I don't have tons and more opinions to support that. It is so exciting to me to have seen him do something as mind-boggling as Shaun of the Dead, and then to follow it up with this, which is more polished and to me more interesting and beautiful and succinct and thoughtful. This is the best ever movie about the detriments of taking work too seriously.
Yeah,
that's fucking cool. Like, I love that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess I want to ask when the last time you watched Shaun of the Dead was.
Within the last year.
Okay.
So it not super recent. And I'll be the first to admit that I regularly forget how much I like or hate something. And I regularly forget all of the information. Like I intake things, I process them for a couple of days, and then they're gone out of my memory. So I will be the first to admit I could be wrong about this. I did not watch these movies back to back like you likely have.
It's okay.
My entire recollection of seeing these movies close together at different times in my life is that I much prefer Hot Fuzz.
And that's fine. People also have said, when we think about the catalog as a whole, Nellie, my guest on Shaun of the Dead, also said that Hot Fuzz was her favorite. I've made no bones about the fact that Scott Pilgrim is my favorite. But what I will say, it's just that what you don't know is, like, you have not seen our conversation about Shaun of the Dead and all of my opinions about that. This episode isn't about Shaun of the Dead, but I would encourage you to, when that does come out, to watch that, because I have very strong opinions about what makes that movie so special. So if you are picking up this series with Hot Fuzz because you liked Hot Fuzz and you haven't watched Shaun of the Dead yet, gentle listener, go listen to the Hot Fuzz one, because there is a lot to unpack with that one when I watched it with a critical eye. But I want to get into Hot Fuzz because you do get great character advancement. This isn't just Simon and Nick just being the same guys in a different movie, the way that a lot of Adam Sandler and Tom Cruise, it's always just Adam Sandler does characters. But I'm just saying, it's not just them being Shaun and Ed from Shaun of the Dead in a different movie. This is a different character. This is self-serious Nick Angel from Simon Pegg, and a more doofy, like less
naive.
Yeah, Ed and Shaun is really like gruff and lazy, whereas Danny Butterman in Hot Fuzz is more naive and gentle and doofy. So these guys are both doing something different, and they're both doing it great, and it's great to see them back together. From there, it dovetails right into cameo after cameo after cameo. All Brits, murderer's row of British cameos with Bill Nighy's back. Steve Coogan shows up. Martin Freeman has a slightly bigger role than he did in Shaun. Like when they said Martin Freeman had a cameo in Shaun, I was like, I don't remember that at all. Yeah. And then he's like, blink and you miss it, cameo from Martin Freeman. So you get these big three right at the front. But I don't know if you caught this or if you know this already in the resume builder when he gets stabbed by Santa Claus. Do you know that cameo?
I know who it is. I know who it is. It's my boy Peter Jackson.
Yeah, Peter Jackson as Father Christmas. Fantastic cameo. And then you get Cate Blanchett as the forensics. Everybody's in masks. You wouldn't even know it was her unless somebody. Yeah. Same with Peter Jackson. Obviously, we did the same kind of because everybody loved this so much. You wanted to know everything about it. So they have all these great cameos right at the top.
But that's exactly what you were talking about, is that at this point, not only was Edgar Wright making a love letter to cinema when he was making movies, but everybody else was so in love with him because of the
Right.
success of Shaun of the Dead. So here you have Peter Jackson and Cate Blanchett saying, I don't even give a fuck if you show my face. I just want to be a part of your movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. When's the last time anybody had a premiere on the scene that was so beloved? And yeah, people are just like falling all over themselves to be a part of what he was doing next. So it's definitely upgraded. The budget's upgraded. The talent is upgraded. And we don't really recap plots. We are talking about this assuming that you've seen the movie, but Nick Angel is so good at his job that he's making all the cops look bad. So like it reminded me of Sleepy Hollow and when Johnny Depp's Ichabod Crane gets shipped to Sleepy Hollow because he's too good at his, or they're annoyed that he's taking his job so seriously.
Stand down! I stand up for sense and justice.
Like you said, this is a workaholic's parable.
Yeah. So I actually have an interesting comparison to another movie that I think is kind of crazy, but I could not stop thinking about it this whole rewatch. I am pretty sure that this movie, that Hot Fuzz, is just the exact same thing as Leon the Professional.
Okay.
So here's my
Interesting.
argument. Let me go through my argument. So first of all, there's a clear reference to Leon the Professional because Nicholas's character, Nicholas Angel, he is constantly carrying around this plant, especially in the beginning of the movie.
The
He has
peace
this love
lily.
affair with the plant. Yes.
Yeah.
He has the love affair with the plant, and that is a direct reference to Leon the Professional. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in addition to that, in Leon the Professional, we have this hitman who his whole life is his work, and he's just striving to be good at it. And he has an emotional connection with somebody who wants to be like him. In Leon the Professional, it's Natalie Portman's character, and here we have Nick Frost's character, kind of like looking up to the very successful, cold, efficient, calculated person who is detached so much from normal life that they are only a professional. And I could not stop seeing that this entire time that I was watching this movie. And
especially the
obviously-
romantic subtext that we'll get into that is uncomfortable in both of those films.
Very uncomfortable. I really think that is what I had never seen that ever before, possibly because I only just recently saw Leon the Professional for the first time, like within the last 5 years. So I probably have only seen Hot Fuzz maybe once since I saw that movie until this rewatch. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't, and there were more and more references the more that I looked at it. And it's that, again, to me, that's what makes Edgar Wright so interesting, because here he is saying, I want to make this movie, or even, like you said, the episode of Spaced, that is a clear reference to Clerks.
Yeah.
I love this thing. I loved this thing so much. This thing was so great. I just want to do my little version of it. And I'm going to do it in a buddy cop movie format.
And I am going to make light of Michael Bay and make light of a lot of other maybe corny action tropes, but in a self-referential love letter kind of homage to things.
Well, you
that
told
he
me I have a
enjoys.
plethora.
But
and I just would like to know if you know what a plethora is. I would not like to think that a person would tell someone he has a plethora and find out that that person has no idea what it means to have a plethora.
Forgive me, Guapo. We called out the intro in Shaun of the Dead as they do like a rhythmic kind of beat for beat sort of choreography that goes on to be extrapolated out to Baby Driver. And then we get this quaint town, and there's connective tissue to World's End. Okay, with it's another they're doing how these sleepy villages, and it resonates with people that are like Nellie was saying, that she really enjoys Hot Fuzz because she lives in a town like that. And I was saying I enjoy Scott Pilgrim because I am a bass playing video game dork. So like if it speaks to you, it's gonna be
it pulls
more
on your heartstrings.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy these more. So for people to say which movie is their favorite, it's all fair game. So I don't mind if you want to say that you like this over Shaun of the Dead. And I enjoy this too. I like action movies just as much as I like horror movies. So for him to say I want to spoof a horror movie and then turn around and say I want to spoof action movies, I'll watch it all day. It's about
Yarp.
the piece. Yarp. Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the most quotable thing from this movie. The way that I said in Shaun, exacerbate, like not since plethora in Three Amigos.
You told me I have a plethora, and I just would like to know if you know what a plethora is. I would not like to think that a person would tell someone he has a plethora and find out that that person has no idea what it means to have a plethora.
Has a word entered the lexicon like exacerbate did in Shaun of the Dead, and then the most memorable thing in Hot Fuzz would be the yarp. It's basically the smurf. I'm smurfing your smurf because you smurfed so hard kind of yarp catch-all word for any situation.
I still laugh every single time. I love Narp so much.
Sergeant Angel's been taken care of. Yarp. He's not gonna get back up again. Narp?
So stupid. Narp?
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. It's so silly.
It's great. And that character is great. We get a lot of awesome personalities. And I think I know why maybe you kind of like this one more, because when it starts to be revealed, the villainy of the plot seems like what I already know about things that you enjoy, but the people watching this might not know, are these kind of like doomsday cult entities that are pulling strings behind the scenes. I know that Ari Aster is somebody that you enjoy, and this round table of people reminded me of Midsommar, reminded me of Hereditary, and a lot of the later Paranormal Activities with like just these occult organizations that are
that's really interesting, because I never actually made that connection, but I think that you're onto something here. The other aspect of the villainy that I really, really love about in this movie is that I really enjoy the fact that the whole town is evil. Like, I like the idea that there's not one bad guy. I like there being one good guy and everybody else is kind of a bad guy. I think that's really interesting. Here we are, we're our two buds. We're going to do everything together. We're going to be great. And it's us versus the world. And I think that that's a really interesting way to create the plot of a movie, because so frequently we, as we're living our lives, we feel like it's us versus the world. We feel like everybody else is against us. And so it kind of pulls on that sort of piece of your brain where you're like, is everybody plotting against me? Are all these people like, has the PTA disbanded? I don't know. You know, that is such a cool way to do an evil subplot, because this movie really does lead you down some rabbit holes of, oh, it's just this one person. Oh, this is what's going on. And is it the biggest twist of all time? Absolutely not. But it becomes that much more exciting because it's everyone. Everyone is bad.
And everyone is old. Like the gag of punching an old lady right in the face is pretty hilarious. So and
he kicks her.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Just all these old people going after you and him taking them on in a giant shootout.
I thought that you were going to say a different reason that I loved this movie so much. So I think that a lot of people, when you're watching this movie, a lot of characters are referred to by their last name. And most of the last names of the characters in this movie are jobs. So, like Wayne's Wright, all of the stereotypical English last names where blacksmith, whatever, they're the jobs that they, but there were also a whole bunch of last names like Blower and Cocker. And I thought that you were going to pull on that. I literally thought you were going to be like, Kaylee likes stupid last names that are all related to penises. But you went for a much more intelligent thing. So thank you for not judging me on Piss Taker or whatever the hell that character's name was.
But we get like George Merchant, who is the land developer, and Tim Messenger is the reporter. So you're right about that. And then you also get Skinner, the Timothy Dalton, probably most recognizable villain. And it's nice to see Timothy Dalton getting something that's not James Bond and kind of showing up in something memorable. But then you see another cameo from Stephen Merchant, which is fun to see. So all these big British heavy hitters, again, supporting the young gun Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
And so it becomes apparent that the Neighborhood Watch is there to keep the town...
NWA. The NWA. Let's just take one moment to pause on the Neighborhood Watch Association, the NWA. Fuck the police.
That's a good point.
It's so genius.
Yeah, it's a good gag, and they want to keep the town idyllic, and you have the living they hate the living statue guy. They hate the little kids that look like they're straight out of Attack the Block, and another British movie that I love. So I love seeing those kids just taking the piss out of the old people and fucking up their program. And kind of early on, we get the vanilla Cornetto gag.
You want anything from the shop?
Cornetto.
What's the matter? You got brain freeze?
No, I got brainwave.
Get us back to the station now!
This one is probably the most on Front Street insertion of the Cornetto. The first Shaun of the Dead, it's like, I don't know why people keyed in on it. And it was kind of just like a funny thing, like, why is he eating ice cream for breakfast?
Yeah.
And people brought it up. And then he takes that feedback that people keyed in on and really runs with it here. In an innocuous way, but he's just like, oh, you guys like that? Here's even more. And then in World's End, you're just kind of, I will talk about it later, but you're kind of waiting for it the whole time, and it's kind of walked past. But this is the second installment of the Cornetto trilogy, the vanilla component of the Neapolitan Cornetto trilogy. And
it's perfect.
So let's talk more about what is actually getting spoofed, because I brought up Michael Bay, but then something that I feel like is close to Edgar Wright's heart, which is also very close to my heart, that informs a lot of the dynamic between Nick and Danny, is Point Break.
Absolutely.
Very much a love letter to Point Break.
And Bad Boys 2.
And Bad Boys 2. I hate Bad Boys 2, but I love Point
you're
Break.
Insane.
You're crazy. Bad Boys 1 is good. Bad Boys 2 is shit. But Point
Husey,
Break...
don't listen anymore. Husey, stop.
Yeah, Husey, stop listening. He'll be on for World's End. Point Break is something that is referenced in this so much, not just in the dialogue, but also I will put Point Break, the foot chase in Point Break, is the best foot chase in all of cinema. What other movie do you have?
I don't disagree with you.
Throwing a pit bull at a guy, weaponizing a dog, and it's so fucking good. It's just so good, and clearly Danny Butterman and Edgar Wright think so too, because they do a couple of different foot chases in this, and they both reminded me of Point Break. He shoots the gun in the air and yells, "Ah!" That's obviously Point Break. They watch it, they talk about it, and Point Break is a fucking great movie.
It's a great movie. I absolutely love, so the way that we get the pointing the gun in the air and going, is that the entire time Danny is asking Nicholas, he's like, so you were like this big, amazing cop in the big city. Can you tell me about it? Have you ever done this? Have you ever done this? And every single thing Nicholas says, no, I haven't ever done that. Like, what are you, crazy? Like, cops don't really do that. Can you imagine the paperwork we would have to do if we did things like shoot the guns in the air like that? Like, that's crazy. And every single thing that Danny asks Nicholas, have you done this? By the end of the movie, they do it.
Right.
And that's so much fun. And again, that's the love letter. That's saying, hey, I'm aware that I'm making these references. That's why we're all having fun together with them, because this is a great movie and we want to talk about this great movie. And I agree with you so much about the foot chases in this movie. I agree with you also about Point Break. But in particular in Hot Fuzz, I love the foot chase of the shoplifter.
That's what I'm talking about.
One of the side plots is that Nicholas and Danny have been charged with finding a rogue swan, and they need to return the swan to the owner. And in the middle of this crazy foot chase where they're trying to find this shoplifter, they see that Nicholas sees the swan, and he has the moment of, do I continue getting the shoplifter, or do I save the thing that I'm supposed to be working on? And you can see his entire internal dialogue, and it's on the screen for 1 to 2 seconds. You can literally feel him going, I know what my job is. My job is to get the swan. I don't care about my job because I care more about the safety and well-being of the people. I'm going to get the shoplifter. And you can see all of those things happening in these little quick cuts. It's so perfectly done.
Yes. And they set it up in the beginning as played for laughs. The whole point is that he is going to hate this because he's taken out of the big city where he's making a difference and put into a sleepy town where nothing cool is ever going to happen. And then it just evolves into probably the biggest case of his life. And it starts out with doing innocuous shit like trying to find a missing swan, and then in the middle of it, like you're talking about, they run past it just to remind you the swan's there, and then at the end it becomes a critical part of the conclusion of the movie. And like I said, Edgar Wright just loves a running gag. And you also brought up the paperwork bit, which is also hilarious, where they make a montage out of doing the paperwork like it's an action sequence, and they do that at the beginning and end of the film as well.
We have to do a considerable amount of paperwork.
Which is just a good bookend, a good running gag. Yeah. And that's
genius.
You got to think about the collaboration between Edgar and Simon Pegg when they're writing this, and that's why they're such a good duo, and why the chemistry of those two together. I would really like to see maybe like a latter day, in the future, re-teaming of those two guys and what that might end up being. But
I don't know this at all. Did they have a falling out and that's why they don't work together anymore? Or they just stopped working together? I mean, it seems weird to have had such a pivotal career as a duo and then to fall off of that in the way that they have. I mean, you mentioned Attack the Block earlier. Even in things like that, like it just feels weird that there was this kind of diversion, even including Nick Frost in this diversion of these three people when they were so successful.
I think it's a matter of being so successful. They go on to be so in demand, especially with Simon Pegg being locked into Mission Impossible and how long those productions are, and just like, I'm not available when you're available kind of thing. Yeah. The same reason why we talked about Edgar Wright not being able to follow through with being the director of Ant-Man. And what a boon, how that would have affected his career, and would it have been good or bad for his career? But you have to look at Ant-Man basically as an Edgar Wright movie, because he did so much pre-production work, and when you watch that, you can feel it. But then he was already committed to Baby Driver, and it's like, well, our Paul Rudd and Edgar's calendars don't align, so Edgar can't go on to actually direct the film, but all of his fingerprints are all over it, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point, yeah.
And I feel like the popularity of Shaun and Hot Fuzz just took these guys, careers so big that it became hard for them to work together. But like we were just saying, I would love to see them get back together. And I don't know if it's anything more than that. They're just both so busy that they can't do it anymore. But
that's a really good point.
You see something like, what was that called? It was an alien movie that Simon and Nick were both in, but Edgar didn't direct it. And it just didn't feel the same. It didn't have the right chemistry. I can't remember the name of it right now, but they find like a gray, you know, it's like Shaun and Ed find a gray alien. I can't remember. It's called like Ed or something like that. But
yeah, that's a really good point. You know, again, I think there's just so much chemistry in what existed in these early days that it's almost near impossible. And perhaps part of the reason not working together also might be a fear of not being able to recreate it. You know, if they did put out a bad movie, it would bitter all of our palates on how wonderful all of this is, which is unfortunate. You know, we shouldn't go back and rewrite history because of things like that, but sometimes we do.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't think those two. It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
All we can do is speculate. But if you're watching this, we would like to see it. So, Edgar, call Simon. Put your differences aside if that's what it is. But as they get into, let's say, the second act, Nicholas Angel finally kind of starts to loosen up. They go out for a beer because they're kind of unhappy with the trajectory of their careers, and Nicholas starts to relent to Danny's questions and why he's asking all these questions based on his love of these movies, and it becomes like, are these guys gonna fuck? Like, and then they get drunk and they go back to Danny's apartment, and like you were talking about with The Professional, it's like, why are they doing this? And it's all because he loves movies and action so much. What were your thoughts about watching that?
Okay, so I was going to actually say that's another relation to The Professional in the sense that the entire time Nicholas is just drinking cranberry juice. And then finally this night that you're just describing right now, Danny convinces him to actually have a beer. They get totally drunk together. And one of the things that I love about Hot Fuzz is that there is no love story. There's no love story in this movie. This is one of the rare successful movies that has no female lead where there is a love story. That being said, oh my God, this scene is fucking gay.
I just want to be good at what I do.
You are good at what you do. You just gotta learn to switch off that big old melon of yours.
That's the whole problem, Danny. I don't think I know how.
It is and in a really beautiful way. Yeah. In a really beautiful way, because on the one hand, when you're just watching it and you're like, oh yeah, these are two dudes just enjoying a movie. On the other hand, you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what guys do when they put the moves on me. It's like they show me their movie collection and then they say, do you want to watch Point Break or Bad Boys 2? Which one do you want to watch first? Yeah. And I'm like, I guess Point Break, you know, like,
can I just suck you off?
Yeah. And that's very much how it feels. Is like, it's a very, you know, in horror movies, we talk a lot about our knives being phallic. In this movie, our phallic weapon is our guns. And you can see how much Danny loves that Winchester rifle that he's carrying around. You can literally see it anytime he's holding it, anytime he's stroking it. It is, there is very much some subtext going on in this scene, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And it's not even, it's more like it's for text.
Text,
it's like text. And that, I think that's playing into
text.
the late,
it's not a foreskin, it's for text.
But it's commenting on the latent homosexuality, male fantasies of action movies, and all of the big dick energy that goes into a Michael Bay movie. And it's like, well, how gay are we gonna make it? Are these guys gonna actually fuck, or are they just gonna watch Bad Boys 2? So that's the bit, and that's why that scene is so brilliant.
I always only watch Bad Boys 2. Just in case anybody was wondering, I just watch Bad Boys 2. I don't fuck. That's the answer to that question.
Yeah. If she watches Bad Boys 2 with you, consider yourself laid. That's
Yes.
They get to the carnival scene where the reporter gets killed, and this gave, as I'm watching this with a critical eye, I know this came out before Grindhouse, but this reminded me so much of Eli Roth's Thanksgiving trailer, and the graphic nature of that kill specifically, because we get the kills of the theater people get decapitated, and one of Edgar's tropes is always over the top violence. There's always a gag where you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe that person's head exploded like that, or he always has some over the top comedically graphic violent part, which sticks with you. And when the reporter's head gets the steeple tip like through his smashing his head, it just reminded me of the fake Thanksgiving trailer that did go on to be a real movie. Happy Thanksgiving! But then Edgar also had Don't in Grindhouse as well. So again, you see all these guys that are basically in the same club. It's like the Robert Rodriguez and Tarantino and Sam Raimi and Edgar Wright and Kevin Smith and all these guys that are bootstrapping movies and into independent film and referencing everything that they love in their own movies, whether it's through dialogue or imagery. And these guys are just, they're cut from the same cloth, is my point.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the things that I really love that Edgar Wright does in this movie, and I can't think if he really does, I guess in Scott Pilgrim he does this, is his reliance on music. I think that he has such a great idea of how to use music in order to really boost a film. And so one of the things that I love is how he uses songs when they relate to kills. So you mentioned the theater people getting killed and decapitated, and then shortly after, once the crime scene is discovered of their bodies, Skinner drives up and he's listening to Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet.
News travels fast.
A love struck Romeo, sing the streets of Verona.
After that, the refrigerator salesman gets blown up, and so he was killed by his oven. And when Skinner pulls up there, he's listening to Arthur Brown's Fire.
Fire to destroy all you've done.
And I just love that. I think that's so clever and thoughtful, and it's these little things that make me kind of swoon over his graphic violence, over the graphic violence that Edgar Wright is showing me. Is I'm like, oh, but lovesick Romeo, like I'm in, like I'm in, and then that's somebody's head on a platter. Like,
and that's funny too, that when you think about how he has an arc of references, because they bring up Shaun of the Dead, Dire Straits, when they're throwing the records. Yeah. So he's talking about his record collection, and he pulls out Dire Straits, and he says, "Get rid of it." But then in this, he secretly likes Dire Straits because he inserts that track into this for that joke.
Do you know what other movie features that song very heavily?
Is it Romeo and Juliet?
No, it's Empire Records.
Oh, okay, yeah. I like that song. Yeah. I like Dire Straits. I mean,
I do too, and that's one of their best songs, and it's in Empire Records, and I love that movie.
It's a great
Ethan
song.
Embry for life, baby.
Yeah. Hey, the other reference thing that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know that Edgar Wright is directly referencing this film, but we are very close to the same age. I think I'm just like slightly younger. But when I was growing up, all the costumes for the Doomsday Cult, before you know that it's a collective, you just think that it's a cowl. It's like, it looks like the Scream character, but you can't see the face. And it reminded me of a movie that I saw when I was a very young kid. And I did go on to watch it again. I was just like, oh, I remember thinking it was such a fun movie. And then I rewatched it and I didn't like it. But it's Tim Conway and Don Knotts in the movie Private Eyes. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I've never seen that. No, I don't think I've even heard of it.
It's a very old kind of like cornball, like screwball, like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson kind of spoof. And there's a mad bomber killer running around that is wearing the cloak. And it's cool, but it's not great. You know, when you hear Tim Conway and Don Knotts and detectives, that's checking so many boxes for me. And then I bought it on Amazon and rewatched it, and I was like, this is kind of stupid. And like,
I'll be honest, I'm a giant wuss. I get super scared. Like, I love horror movies, but they scare the crap out of me. I get scared by everything. I can't even watch Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors without being terrified. I am a giant wuss. I can't watch anything like that after, let's say, 5 p.m. If it is even threatening to get dark out, I can't watch it. I need to watch something happy at nighttime. I like to watch all my horror stuff in the morning. That is just what my habit is, because I am a giant wuss. But I remember when this movie came out, one of the issues that I had with it was that I was expecting kind of a buddy comedy, silly, whodunit sort of movie. And then I ended up getting really scared from it. And I think a lot of that is the character design. A lot of it is the mystery. A lot of it is the, again, these could be real people who are just trying to preserve the integrity of their town or whatever the heck they're doing. This movie almost felt too real to me, which is absurd. I sided with the cops and I was terrified like a little baby of people in cloaks. Like, that's silly, and I shouldn't be afraid of those things. And that's not how I feel in real life about either of those things. But I don't know. There's something very spooky about it. Very spooky.
Yeah, a cultish behavior. That's why it reminded me of Hereditary and Midsummer, and and then the town that's just everybody's out to get you reminded me. Not that, I mean, this came out far later, like only last year, but Ballerina reminded me of this because that's a plot point of that film. So it is something that is memorable for a viewer and that people insert into their films the way Edgar Wright did. But and then it does go over the top at the end intentionally, like the big shootout to a comedic degree.
I love it,
which is delightful. The woman on the bike with the 2 guns and all of the gags, and even the explosions that you should have died, but you survive it, and that's always so ridiculous. And every action movie they explain it away, and
but also like the gag things with the explosions also, because you have everybody's running out of the building because the bomb is about to explode, and then it turns out that it's a dud. And so it doesn't explode. And so and they're calling and they're like, oh yeah, it wasn't active. But they all run and jump as if they do in every single action movie. So you get the setup for things like that. And that's why it becomes funny in the end. I think that if you didn't have the setup for things like that, where, okay, this is a gag, this is why it's funny, then I would have gotten very, very annoyed by it. But instead, I'm just having a super fun time watching it.
Yeah. And one of my favorite jokes in the movie that happens during the big shootout is when the priest comes out and they have a tense conversation before they have the shootout, which reminded me of Cheech and Grindhouse and Machete. Another you reference to Robert Rodriguez. Actually, I think that's Robert Rodriguez ripping off Edgar, because this came out before that.
Yeah.
But it's a common trope. But my favorite part is when the priest gets shot and he collapses and he yells Jesus Christ when he gets shot.
Jesus Christ!
I just thought that was so funny. And then you're just getting John Woo reference after Michael Bay reference and all the absurd things and all of the...
So I have some vague recollection. I might be wrong about this. I'm sure that people will correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I have some vague recollection that I read in some interview or heard in some interview that when Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg were writing this, that they decided that they were going to go through a list of, I think it was Ebert. Ebert had written a list of all of the tropes in action movies. And they went through that list and they said, we are going to include every single one of these things. And so it's even things like having like the dimly lit hotel room scene. Even things like that were like included in this Ebert list of what action tropes are. And so they included those things. And because of that, we got those beautiful hotel room scenes, or I guess whatever, when he's trying to get the place to stay, and the attendant is saying fascist because she's working on a crossword puzzle, and then he says hag because he's trying to help her with the crossword puzzle, but really we all know that they're just calling each other those things.
Yeah. And it's called back in the shootout at the end. Yeah. Yes. And that's awesome. And we do get the seed planted for Baby Driver again. We haven't. Shaun of the Dead doesn't have an action-packed car chase. Fistful of Fingers doesn't, but this is where that seed gets planted. That will go on to be the roots for Baby Driver. The same way that the opening sequence of Shaun of the Dead, what you were talking about with how music is important to Edgar and how he uses it in this, how he uses it in Scott Pilgrim, how he uses it in Baby Driver. So all these seeds get planted and they bloom into these other bigger, better productions as his career evolves. So, and I always pay attention to music in films, but I think that, you know what, I never thought about this before. I think that Edgar Wright walked so that James Gunn could run when it came to music. I think that James Gunn was probably more heavily inspired by Edgar Wright than he was by people like Wes Anderson, who also uses music very, very well. But I've never thought about this ever before. I think that James Gunn must have been very heavily inspired by the use of pop songs, of popular songs within movies like this. Sure. But we all know that Tarantino takes his soundtracks very seriously. I think it's creative types.
Yeah, but they're worse.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying whose are better or worse. I'm just saying that because I know that James Gunn is brought up through trauma, and I want to talk offline about the new Toxic Avenger movie, but I know that just directors wish they were rock stars the way comedians wish they were rock stars, and rock stars wish they were comedians and movie directors. And I think it's I thought you were gonna say something very different about rock stars. What did you think I was gonna say? And rock stars wish they were dead, and and then I was like, oh my god, Andy, that's very dark. Yeah, I just think they all are enjoying the same types of media, and I wouldn't be surprised if James Gunn was an Edgar Wright fan, but I do think that they were both growing up just taking inspiration from the music that they liked and inserting it into their films, as much as they can. But I do want to talk about the kaiju fight scene with Timothy Dalton at the end. Oh my God. It is amazing. It does one more reference to Godzilla, one more reference to whatever, the whole Japanese culture, and that whole sequence leading to an even arguably more graphic. He doesn't even die, but it's just so uncomfortable to watch when Timothy Dalton collapses on the spire. Another church spire
So
violent.
great.
You know, the one guy gets his head crushed by one, and then Timothy Dalton gets it through the chin and out his mouth, and everybody that sees that remembers that. You can't watch that and it not imprint on your memory the way that the sequence in Shaun of the Dead with Queen and even more Baby Driver music stuff when they're beating up the zombie to having a good time. Everybody remembers that. So
that also happens in one of the Omen movies. I can't remember which, but a similar concept happens in one of the Omen movies. And again, I think that's that reference that we all love so much. You know,
they kill people to Queen in the Omen.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yeah.
And one of the other things that I want to bring up that is similar to Shaun, which I think is more impactful in Shaun, that I didn't mention at the top of the show, but I think is done in a less successful way in Hot Fuzz, is the parent-child fight, the conflict, or not even conflict. In Shaun, it's Shaun having to kill his mom, and we talked about how dark that is, and that people don't even realize how that impacts them. After the movie is done and over, you remember the zombie getting beat up to Queen. You remember where they're walking through the lot and imitating the zombies. What you don't remember is how fucking dark that is. And they try and do that again with Danny and his dad when it comes out that the chief of police is Danny's father. I mean, you know that, but he's part of the cult that is killing everybody. And Danny has to confront his father, and that leads to the Point Break reference with the shooting in the air, and it's son fighting father, or dealing with your parent-child relationship in a serious way, and it does that in both films in a different way, but I think it's just more impactful in Shaun.
I think you've completely hit the nail on the head here. And I never thought about this before, but I think that the failure in Hot Fuzz when it comes to that is that even though you are aware that Danny's father is the police chief, there's almost no reference to it. Like, they don't seem to have a loving relationship.
Yeah.
At the start of the movie, and during this rewatch that I did, I had actually forgotten that they were father-son. And then, as I'm watching, I wasn't thinking about it. Maybe I just wasn't paying 100% attention. I didn't realize until it was probably 45 minutes, maybe an hour into the movie, that they were father-son. So I didn't realize that they were father-son until just before they had that confrontation. So perhaps the reason it doesn't feel as impactful is because their relationship was maybe a little bit more dry, a little bit more stale, and therefore you're not even thinking about them as father-son.
Yeah, it's a little more innocuous, and and therefore a little less impactful.
Yeah.
But also just the same blueprint as Shaun, and it's still done well. And like I forgot to bring it up. You were talking about the motives of the NWA and the indoctrination of like Danny being just kind of, this is the way it is, and I didn't even realize anything was wrong because this is how it's always been, and accidents happen, right? People aren't getting murdered. It's just unfortunate events. But it's another theme of the film that is, there's a lot of subtext that when you watch with a critical eye, you start to pick up on these things. It's what makes it worth rewatching. Like, if you're watching this review because you just wanted to hear our thoughts on it, you should go rewatch Hot Fuzz if you haven't seen it in a minute, and pay a little more attention to all the thought and care that Edgar and Simon put into writing this, because there is so much
passion.
There's so much passion and thought and fandom of action movies, and just the talent and love of cinema that they pour into these movies, which is why I wanted to do this, and why I'm glad that you wanted to come on and talk about Hot Fuzz.
Oh my God, you could not have stopped me.
Do you have... Oh, God, do you have any final thoughts about Hot Fuzz?
Well, we missed one of the best things that we have to go back and talk about.
Please.
The fence jumping.
Oh, you're right. Yes, we touched on it.
We touched on it, but I want to talk about it more. I have to tell you, there is something so genius about an Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg fence jumping scene. Every single time I cackle. I cackle at it. I know exactly what's going to happen. Simon Pegg is going to jump the fence with his legs kind of sideways, which is already a goofy looking thing.
What's the matter, Danny? You never taken a shortcut before?
He does this weird, like, he's like pole vaulting over the fences. And it's so funny, and I love it so much. And then I know that somebody's going to bust through the fence. And I know that that's what's going to happen. I still, every single time, somehow the comedic timing is always just different enough in every single one of these movies that I like drives me insane. I think it's just the best. I think that's so, it's so notable to be able to use the same gag again and again and have it be successful every time.
Yeah. And
how do you do that?
I don't know, but it's because you're a brilliant comedic mind and a brilliant writer. Yep. And this really is the one that you could tell the budget's there. It's firing on all cylinders. It has all the tropes. It has the violent gags. It has the car chases. It has the music and the rhythmic
cameos,
the cornetto, the fence. It's just, it has everything that will go on to be the recipe for success that is almost every other Edgar Wright, like what you come to expect from Edgar Wright. And this one is one of the greats, easily. And when I first conceived of doing this, and every single option of picking whatever movie that you want was on the table, and you were the first person that I asked, I said, you have your pick of the litter. What do you want to talk about? You picked this because it's great.
I did. I love this movie, and it's a fun one to talk about. It is. Yeah. You know, I love so many of Edgar Wright's movies at varying levels and for various reasons. I love so many of them. This, to me, again, this is kind of the cream of the crop. This is the height of his career for me. This is the movie that is both so succinct and so funny and so long-winded, and so it's almost a contradiction in and of itself. And again, it's this buddy cop kaiju horror, you know, it's just an amalgamation of everything that is good in the world, that is exciting in the world. Comedy, I didn't even say comedy in there. It's all of those things in one, and boy, does that make it something special.
Right. And it's because of the brilliance of the writing. We were talking a little bit about how a lot of movies try and be Shaun of the Dead, and they fail miserably because the writing isn't there. So that's another key to success, just the brilliant writing, the brilliant comedy. And that's why I'd rather watch this than Bad Boys 2. I'd rather watch this than just about any other action movie that's not Point Break. So
Yarp.
I like to end the episodes by, and I know that you're kind of go into movies cold kind of person. So it's okay to say that but you might know about the referential material. What are your thoughts on the quickly approaching Running Man that is going to be released on November 14th?
So you are exactly correct. I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing about what's happening. The only reason that I'm even aware that it's happening is because you mentioned to me that it was happening.
Okay.
I will say that I am excited.
Well, let's talk about, have you seen the Schwarzenegger movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have. So
and what are your thoughts about that? Do you like it?
I like it. It's fine. It's not, it doesn't stand out in my memory in any way. So again, I kind of have this memory when it comes to movies where I'm like, unless I really hated it or I really loved it, I don't have a ton of memories about it.
Sure.
So that's a movie that I saw over 10 years ago, and I could not tell you anything about it right now, which means it's someplace in the middle gray area for me.
That's okay, because I feel like the new adaptation of it is going to be more centric to the novel, the Stephen King, Richard Bachman version of the plot. So I even don't know what to expect from this, but I don't want to talk since you don't really know anything about it. And I think that maybe once it comes out, my intention is to have a lot of people that participated in this series hopefully have a chance to see it and then give me some thoughts about it once that comes out, because this is all being released in culmination to the Running Man premiering, and we'll conclude with a conversation about the Running Man. So if you do have a chance to see it, then of course you will be invited back to talk about that.
I would love that, and I will be personally offended if you don't invite me to see it with you. So just keep that in mind.
I know you don't like going to the theater, but
I'm getting a Running Man popcorn bucket, and I'm going to eat out of it.
Out of Glenn Powell's head.
Yeah.
It'll be the best thing that you're going to make out with your popcorn bucket.
Oh, no.
Like you did with your Dune bucket.
I don't know what you're talking about. I would never do something like that.
You don't know that the Dune bucket looks like a pocket
I'm aware.
pussy?
Yeah, I'm aware of the Dune bucket. Please. Are you kidding me? I tried to spend a lot of money on getting one. It was the first time I ever cared about It was the first time anybody ever cared about a popcorn bucket. Come on.
I've gone through 3. I've filled up 3 already. Kaylee, thank you so much for joining me here. Would you like to plug the plugs that you like to plug at this point?
I would like to plug the Dune popcorn bucket. You can find me on Once Over with Cayley, Cayley on YouTube, on Patreon. You can also catch me every Thursday night on the Shuli Network, where we talk about lots of weird stuff. It's super fun, and sometimes on Who Are These Podcasts. And as frequently as I can, I love working with Andy. I'm going to have him back over on Once Over with Cayley pretty soon. We're going to be talking about some SNL movies. I'm going to leave it up in the air which one we're talking about, but let me tell you, it's a good one.
Yes. And the Edge Files. Let's not forget that. We do the Edge Files together. So
I'm the worst at plugs.
No, you have so much going on. There, you have too many plugs. But
So
I love them all. So thank you for joining me here. And if you are thinking about missing next week's episode of All the Right Moves,
Don't.